to me. I was reading something on Mindful app page, and then it was trying to decode itself, and it said, no, you got to demand unity. And I was like, well, what does that mean? Because like that sounds like forceful. It sounds forceful. And it said, exactly. You got to force people to do what's going to benefit them. And I was like, man, that's kind of hostile. That sounds like the old Jehovah guy. So no, not at all. Because it's like parents. Because when these kids start fighting, you got to force them to come together. And if you watch your parents, when they say, okay, you two stop fighting, you stop fighting because you're scared of what's going to happen next. You see what I mean? So that's actually what's about to happen to the world. They're going to stop fighting because they're going to be very afraid about what's going to happen next. And that's the sign that's going to come to them. But we don't got to wait for that time. We go now into this unified component in demanding unity. It means that you actually got to demand that back into yourself. I'm not saying you got to demand that from other people around you. You got to actually demand back into yourself from all those entities. Because now when you start seeing you're talking to yourself in an illusion, something's even answering back. What have you created? Magician. See, I saw this book a long time ago. It was about Solomon, and it was showing like him walking, and all these little imps and stuff was trying to pull on his coattails, and he was agitated by it. And it had a little excerpt on the bottom and said, a warning to the mages who invokes imps and does not keep them maintained. They will become a worry later on in the magician's life. And what they're talking about is that, hey, don't really do heady magic about you just falling in love with the girl or whatever, because this is going to later on in life really get you. But hey, it happens to all magicians, meaning a lot of people evoke little petty things with their magic. And these are like little petty energies that they evoke. And then even long after they're done loving the person and they've gotten fulfilled with whatever it is the gratification is, and they think that they're done, this little baby, which is not unlike the incubus and succubus, is still living out there on the spiritual plane in that coil or in that universe or in that projection that's inside of your shell. So that's why they talk about dissolving that and absorbing that back into yourself. You see, so they say that, okay, you have so many of you split all over the place, you need to start basically killing them, removing them, bringing them all into one space. And like I said, there's nothing that is killing, there's no gods of death. So you're transmuting them. So all of those external forces, and what I'm diving into here is that when we accumulate, because we naturally do it. And, I've accumulated Aura at this point. I've accumulated the wife at this point. I've accumulated the community at this point. This is what I'm talking about. This is the shells. This is the buildup. It just, you got to say it as what it is. But you got to be willing to let it go. And that's the master. If you can be always willing to let it go, you can have it all. But at any point where you start trying to hold it, it builds up on you. And what happens is literally, and this is now trinary knowledge, is this moment is like locked in time. You start basically building up in a moment in time. It's like you're in stasis. You're no longer going forward. You're actually like stuck in this continuous loop with this memory that you won't let go, right? Because the memory is like sitting over there, like I had this thing, like after I got all the printers and the 3D printers and I wanted to go into manufacturing. But then I was like, man, I really need to lower my footprint though. And every time I kept trying to find a place that would house all these machines and everything also, I couldn't find anything. And so I ended up in this weird conundrum, and I'm just giving you an example because I was like, well, I know I got to go forth and keep manufacturing and keep creating things, and that way we end up becoming leaders of our industry, pioneers. But at the same time, this stuff is like, I need to get rid of it. And I was betwixt. It always will happen. This will always happen. I started realizing that I started working deeper on the cosmic clocks, which are, wow, I got a cosmic clock right now that's too powerful. I think I just assembled it. So at this point, with the cosmic clock, as I've been working, I've really been using this one machine because there's no reason to actually boot up the big giant machines until I'm ready to run a lot of them. So I've been using this one machine. I said, well, I'll be damned. I can just go on with this one machine. Like, I just have this one machine in my backpack, like the fool with the machine that could do everything. And it would be just literally like that. And for whatever reason, I released all my possessions at that point. But this was all symbolic, okay? Because also symbolically in my life, especially during this Envision Festival, I felt a completion and I felt a release. And so this is what we're talking about here, is that there's always going to be accumulation on your ship, okay? Barnacles. got to encourage everything around you to be responsible for its energy and actually stay on high vibration. So that way we don't start dealing in time loops. We're always at the tip of ourselves. We're always at the sunset of self. Because if we start arguing, we're going into division, that's past. We know division equals past, right? So the moment we start doing that, we start getting pulled into the past, pulled into the lack of awareness. How the hell I'm arguing with myself? What the hell is this? See, because that's what you would be doing. Literally, you would be arguing with all the projections in which you're creating. And this is how you know you're creating. You decide to walk away. If you had the cojones, it would be all over with. And it's just like that, and even deeper. Just like I talk about in the Code of the Matrix, we still remain in ultimate power with our hand hovering over the kill switch. If we so choose, meaning that if the human being wants to even terminate their body, they can even do that if they wanted to. You know, it takes a lot to actually do that. But I'm just saying, ultimate power is already shown to be in the hands of yours truly, you. And so these conversations become very instrumental, especially on 321, 322. They've already crossed over on one side. And us understanding just, hey, I'm in alignment. I know exactly what I'm doing. I got this under control because I was actually present in the council. We did have the mistress of speech. Okay, I was playing that role tonight. What is that? Remember that book that I gave everyone about the jackal and the Nomo and that's it again. We're back at that again because we know who the jackal's role is, the twin. You know, he's got a whole story around him if you wanted to read more about the jackal's character, because it's very enigmatic, because many people that change things start off on that first card, right? And then, you know, so yeah, we can go from there, but you can see now again for yourself how you graduate. And that's why every single thing that we're even developing and doing now is actually taking on a massive metamorphosis. And even though there's technical aspects to what we're doing, I feel the spiritual presence assisting with deciphering the technical noise. Because there's a lot of stuff out there to dial us right into what we need to be doing at exactly the time that we need to be doing it, in exactly the order that we need to be doing it in. And I'm doing that not obsessing about it and not having anxiety about it, as far as like I'm doing it in a more balanced and a better way, if you may, by just being real and being in the position of behind the eyeball and visualizing what's happening in the world, but from the throne of the consciousness. And that's it. Like you're going into the throne of your consciousness now. You're no longer the projected shadow. You're not God's shadow. You know, I own that website, godshadow.com. Because I had cracked into this. It's like, I felt like I was God's shadow at a certain point, that I had the potential, but I just wasn't there yet. And now I see how that all connects with all of us in our growing process, because we all have the potential to be like our parents. And I feel like that this group that we're working with, this tribe, they're there. So, own this family. Like that's all I really have to say tonight. I know that was a bit to digest, but man, I just want to take that little chunk of conversation right there, man, and send it to the world. Like, I feel like that there's, for those, that's what they say, he who has ears, let him hear. For anyone that hears that, it simplifies things, and it puts the power back again into your own consciousness. It puts your power right back there. Like, let me start working on this tonight. I know, because we all have these bows. Like, we know this is true, so nobody can run from it. Anybody who stands with it will stand till everything falls away, right? But the truth is that, wow, like accepting, okay, as ships, if you get stagnant, you start sitting still, you start like getting bogged down by the hard rock and the heavy metal, all the anxieties, the jealousies, the envy, the things we're so familiar with. Like if somebody says, hey, name all the negative traits, it's like we go, jealousy, envy, hatred, dishonesty. It's like we can just keep going and going and going. It's like, yeah, all of those are the barnacles. And they build up and they wear holes in our ship. Literally, they wear holes in our ship, and then they make us leak. There it is again. As a ship, like you're leaking now. It's like you're taking, they say in this text, you will be taking on water, but it's inverted. You actually start leaking, right? And we see how that works because since it's all inverted, we're in the water now. So when you start taking on damage, you start leaking. You start leaking. Oh shit! All my containment fluids, all my power is going out. You know what's happening? Oh, I'm letting too many barnacles build up around my field, and then when all that starts building up around your field, you start getting scared. You don't know where everything's going to be happening, what's going to go on, and then all you're doing is locking everyone into that space. You're locking them into that shell, into those memories. Now you have the opportunity to set it all free. And then simultaneously set yourself free. And that's how it works. That's how giving really works. So that's what's done. So any additional thoughts on that? Any am I completely off? Off, bro. That's exactly
right there.